Who wants to see me and Neil going full send on the Triumph Tiger 1200 off-road, on the beach, in the mud, in the puddles? If you answered yes, you're going to enjoy this. These videos only happen because of the support and help from our sponsors. Support the companies that support us. Now this, as I'm sure you're aware, is a Triumph Tiger 1200. It's the new bike that came out at the beginning of last year. Triumph are very, very proud of it. They're convinced it's the best thing since the last Tiger 1200. It's got more power, less weight, more spec than basically the key other competitor in this class, which is the GS. We rode it at the launch last year and we had a blast and I really liked it. But when you ride on a launch, you kind of ride where the manufacturers asked you to ride, you ride the bikes they've prepped, and you kind of ride it under their watchful eye. They let us play to a certain extent, but I wanted to get out and really put this thing to the test on our home turf in horrible conditions and just see how far you can push a Tiger 1200 off-road. So to start off, we indulged in a bit of beach riding. There's nothing quite like riding sand. It's normally very difficult on a big adventure bike. It normally takes a fair bit of commitment and skill. So I took Dakar legend Neil Hawker with me and we took two of these bikes to the beach. It's worth noticing we were on stock road tyres, the Cruise Street. So it's like a 70-30, 80-20 split towards road. Not the ideal tyre for the situation. It was freezing cold. Parts of the beach were frozen solid. And as you see, the old Triumph held up pretty damn well. Disclaimer straight away, this is not going to be a full, balanced, on and off-road, complete spectrum review of the Tiger 1200 as an adventure bike. Mainly because I fitted these and ridden it in the mud and the sand. If that's all you're going to do, this is all very relevant. Really, what we wanted to do is take this thing to its limits off-road. That's what this video is all about, and that is exactly what we've done. Now the first day we rode was on the sand, our special secret training facility, which makes it sound really glamorous. What that actually means is we just have to pay to go there. It's really expensive, but it gave us a chance to push these things without worrying about, you know, upsetting other trail users on public trails, without having to be responsible in any way, shape or form. We could go full send up and down the beach and absolutely enjoy ourselves. And in that situation, these things were an absolute blast. Don't forget, it was freezing cold that day and we were on road tyres. Everything was set to make this thing seem horrible. Neil and I had an absolute blast. And most importantly for me, in terms of giving an extreme off-road test, both of us watched the other one do something that day and went, whoa! That tells me this does have some really good credentials, really capable off-road. in the right situation and in the right hands. Watching Neil send it around the sand was epic, and then I managed to find some really nice fast flowing corners, some jumps. Managed my first standing up on the pegs donut without having a dab. Very pleased with that. That was a milestone for me. And a few things about the Triumph have helped that. One, the wheel size. 21-inch front, 18-inch rear. It's made it so that you can put good tyres on it, which we did for the second day. So Dunlop came through with the goods with a D606 on the front and a D908RR on the rear. They're their kind of rally raid, super aggressive adventure bike tyres. They look like enduro tyres. Again, I didn't try them out on the road today. I have ridden on the road in them in the past, and they're a knobbly tyre. They're not anything like a road tyre. So in terms of going on a big tarmac adventure on them, you wouldn't in a million years. But in terms of unlocking as much off-road performance out of this bike as possible, they really came through. I have been astounded by the grip on this front end today, and in the sloppiest, muddiest situation, I've always had the traction to drive out. Now here in the mud, the Tiger 1200 has, again, the thing that shines for me is the feel on the front end, which I know I keep going on about, but on a Super Sport 600, on a racetrack, you expect that. On a 1200cc adventure bike, I've kind of got used to it not being there. You know, some of the mid-range adventure bikes have started giving you a bit more trust and feel to push the front tyre now, but the big capacity stuff, always a little bit careful, a little bit nervous on the front end, and I think the Triumph is class leading in that respect. I had so much faith crossing over completely sloppy muddy ruts and just across the ruts diagonally, and the thing would cut itself a line through. Seriously impressed with that. I got up to 100 mile an hour on one of the trails earlier, like absolute send, and it has been a complete blast. No, this isn't an enduro bike. Yes, there are bits here today that we found its limits on, but for what it is, properly awesome. Motorbikes, they're awesome. So let me finish up with three things I do like, three things I'm not so keen on the Triumph 1200. First up, I absolutely love the front end of it. Amazing, amazing front end, really good feel, really good confidence, and found I could kind of put it wherever I wanted on most of the trails I tackled. Secondly, the sound of that engine. Oh, it's gorgeous. It just sounds so good, and the power it's got when you need it drives so hard. And thirdly, it sounds silly, but I like the fact that you can turn everything off on the dash. That's great, and I can program a rider mode in there that has no traction control, no ABS, stiffest suspension possible, and the sharpest throttle response possible. I can turn off the hill hold assist. Having that level of customization where instead of them nannying you and saying, we know what you want, you get complete choice over what you get. And then when you turn the bike off and on, it gives you a shortcut to immediately put it back in that mode. Bravo, Triumph, thank you. That for what we've been doing on this video, massive help. And for serious off-roading on an adventure bike, a must. Three things I'm not so keen on. One is going to be I don't want to say a lack of suspension travel, but how easy the bike started to bottom out when we hit faster stuff. Again, if we're saying that the top end of performance here is an enduro bike, this is never going to get near that, but I've ridden other adventure bikes in this class that last a little bit longer before they're hitting the end of the stroke and before they're bottoming the shock. Positive for the Triumph though, when it did bottom out, super controlled. Second thing I'm not massively keen on, the relationship between the throttle and the clutch in slow, tight maneuvers. The more I rode it, the more I got used to it, the less I stalled it, but I had to learn the bike's foibles and how the bike wants to be ridden. Not a problem if you only ride a Triumph and ride a Triumph forever, but again, there are other bikes in the class that I can jump on having never ridden and immediately feel comfortable on, so it's the only little niggle there. And finally, my only other complaint was changing the back wheel. It took 7 tools and 185 Newton meter wheel spindle. Now, I love the rear suspension, it works brilliantly. It's one of the best shaft drive suspensions in terms of how it is compliant over bumps. But changing the wheel, you have to remove the whole kind of side, it's just a little bit too complicated for me for an adventure bike. If you never intend to change your own wheel, you can ignore that bit. If like me, you're always changing tyres and faffing around, it's a little bit irritating. But all in all, Triumph Tiger 1200, way more capable off-road than anybody thinks it would be and than it really has any right to be. Love the front end, nothing fell off, nothing broke, big tick. Good job, Triumph.